Hey guys, before this video starts, I want to put a quick little disclaimer here. I'm going to be unlisting all of the videos that are going to be featured in this video except for the last one, my most recent video. Now, you're probably wondering, why I'm doing that? Well, I feel like the simplest way to answer that question is I feel like those videos have aged poorly. I don't really like them anymore. They're very much a product of their time, and you know, I don't want to act like they don't exist, so I decided, you know, why not just compile all of them in one video for everyone to watch. You know, people like them hour-long Lost Media videos, so I just decided why not compile all of my garbage, cringy early YouTube videos into one big-ass video. So that's where this video comes in, the Lost Media Limbo anthology, including the one good video I've made out of my entire channel, which is probably volume 6. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys don't want me to do that, then, you know, maybe tell me down below why you think I should keep those shitty videos up. Being completely honest with you guys, I just didn't really have an internet personality, an internet persona yet. I didn't understand what I wanted to do with the channel. I was just kind of going in very stupid, strange, random-ass directions with the channel when I first started. I didn't have a style yet. I was still trying to figure out what that was. Now that I have it, looking back at those old videos, just, you have no idea, man. They are so painful to watch now. But I know some people like them, so here you go. Without further ado, let's get started. I'm Mr.Bones, and this is the complete Lost Media Limbo. Thank you. Welcome to the Limbo, folks. I'm Mr.Bones, the internet's most unrecognizable but classy skeleton, and when I'm not making cringy intros, I'm looking at Lost Media cases on the Lost Media Wiki. Last time I made Lost Media Limbo Volume 1, a series of which I talk about my favorite Lost Media topics and bring more awareness to them, some of which have already been talked about to death, and others, well, not so much. Today we'll be doing the same, well, with a bit of a twist. Instead of me personally choosing them based on my own preference of taste, I asked for user suggestions from the last video, and so I picked out my favorites, and we'll be talking about those today. So with that easy summary aside, let's jump right into Volume 2. This is Lost Media Limbo. I'm Mr.Bones, and let's talk about Lost Media Limbo Volume 2.
There you go, Astro Boy, on your flight into space, rocking on through the stars, for adventures soon you will take.
You know, you can't get much more nostalgic with me than Astro Boy. For a little background of me, I absolutely loved this show as a kid. It was one of my absolute favorite things, like, not even my favorite show or my favorite cartoon character. It was just one of my favorite things, period. I don't know why. Astro Boy was like my first obsession, and it's honestly a strange first obsession because, you know, he's such an obscure character. I don't really understand why I connected with the character so much, but maybe it was just the innocence of the personality of Astro himself is why I connected with him, and the insane, wacky, futuristic adventures he went on. I don't know, maybe just as a basic summary was why I was so interested in it. But regardless, I just loved the show. Probably the only anime that I liked to watch as a kid. I wasn't a big anime guy, I wasn't allowed to watch Naruto or anything like that because, yeah, so the only anime that really came to mind that I liked was Astro Boy. And originally, I didn't watch the anime first, I watched the movie, just like every other kid in America that knows Astro Boy. Every time I would talk about it, usually I would be thinking about the manga or, you know, the anime, but every time I would bring it up to a friend at school, they'd go, "Oh, you mean like the movie?" And that's what we'll be talking about tonight. No, much like robots, we're not going to be talking about a director's cut. The movie was finished all the way through. Instead, we'll be talking about a pitch animation that was made to sell the idea of the film to MGM, who are the people that made the film. Yeah, that's right. MGM made the film. And it's arguably a bit of a debate whether the movie is good or not. I honestly think it's okay. I definitely don't think it's as good as I remember it being. I went back and watched it for the sake of this video, and
Not at all, boy!
yeah, it's not very accurate compared to the anime and the manga, which sounds like the most moist critical Penguin Zero thing that has ever come out of my mouth. But it's true. It's a very different take on the character, and I don't know, it's not my cup of tea personally. If I was gonna watch Astro Boy, I'm probably gonna watch like the 80s cartoon. Now that shit aged like a fine wine. But with my taste aside, let's talk about the supposed animation pitch. So, from what I can tell, this was supposed to be a lot like the anime and the manga series. Astro had a very similar design as he did in those previous source materials, and believe it or not, it had a lot of the same animation techniques too. How do I know this? Well, apparently this Tumblr page, yeah, I said that correctly, I didn't have a stroke there. A Tumblr page supposedly archives information and footage from the supposed test animation. If you couldn't tell, yeah, this is Lost Media. We ain't gonna find that bitch anytime soon, and that's sad because I really want to see it. It's not like a big obsession of mine, it's just kind of interesting. The animation was made in 2004 and was made by Imaji, the same people that made the TMNT films, and they also made this like scrapped Legend of Zelda test animation that they were trying to sell to Nintendo. That's also was at Lost Media for a little bit, but that was found recently. I'm not fully sure what to do as far as getting this thing found. I haven't really dug too deep as far as getting to the bottom of like who made the animation, the portfolios they originated from, because all of this stuff came from artist portfolios in China, and so I haven't really dug deep to research that. Maybe I will investigate this if I get in the mood, but as far as I'm concerned, I'll probably just leave this on the back burner. I just kind of wanted to talk about it because I love Astro Boy. It's something that I've always just resonated with as a cartoon and as a series in general. It's just a good franchise, and if you haven't seen the anime and you only know Astro Boy for the movie, I suggest you watch at least the 2003 show. It's pretty good. It's pretty cheesy, but I mean, so's all early 2000s anime. Until then, the Astro Boy pitch animation made by Imaji will remain a mystery.
Wow, that was intense! Woo! I just flew in from the new ruins level, and boy, are my arms tired!
On the topic of my favorite cartoon characters, let's talk about someone that is kind of both video game and cartoon. Crash Bandicoot. Crash Bandicoot is a video game series that originally was developed by Naughty Dog in the early 90s, and it was sort of an unofficial mascot for PlayStation at the time. Crash is like my favorite video game characters of all time. I love the guy. His character design, amazing. His games, fantastic. The music, I listened to while editing this video, as a matter of fact. Yeah, I love Crash Bandicoot, I love the franchise. If you're a fan of Crash Bandicoot, then good for you. And I recently played Crash 4, I had a good time, so big fan of the series. But where am I getting with this? Well, Crash has not a lot of Lost Media, but he has one case that I find so interesting because it's on the table of existence unconfirmed, whether this is true or not, because this is more of a hoax than it is a rumor. I don't know if this is real or not. Some people think this is fake, some people think this is true, some people don't even know what to think of it, and I'm on the scale of I don't know what to think of this. So if you guys have an idea or want to share your opinions of this, then let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your ideas, but let me just go ahead and talk about what I'm going to talk about. So a couple of months ago, someone on Reddit had claimed that they were working on a Crash cartoon for Amazon. It was supposed to be called The Insane Adventures of Crash Bandicoot, and it was supposed to be this anniversary thing for Crash. Then a bunch of people decided to shit on them and claim that everything that they were talking about was bullshit and wasn't true. This supposed individual, forgot their name unfortunately, then decided to reveal that they actually had 2 pitch pilots saved on their computer, as well as a pitch bible for many episodes, the plot of the series, and a bunch of character bios. It was on a PDF, and it was all supposed to sell the series to Amazon. But seeing as how Amazon were having terrible arguments with Activision, they just pulled the plug entirely because they didn't want to deal with Activision's ass anymore. And that sounds like something Activision would do. Like, that's the whole reason why the Skylanders Academy show got canceled. If you guys remember that crock of shit.
Where am I? Crash Bandicoot.
What the hell is even that?
Yeah, that show. When I first heard about this, I almost lost my mind because I remember, like, a few months before that, I heard rumors and murmurs about the supposed Crash cartoon being in development, but I didn't really know what to think of it. I thought it was interesting, but it wasn't until this Reddit post was made that I raised an eyebrow. I wanted to instantly believe it, of course, but everyone else had their reasons to not believe it. That was until the supposed individual uploaded 2 pitch animations to sell to Amazon. These were very interesting. Very interesting. In fact, I'm going to play them right now. It's short, why not?
Dr. Neil Periwinkle periwinkle cortex here. With this ingenious device, this ordinary bandicoot will be mutated into the perfect leader for my cortex commander. It's alive! Stop! Obey! Obey your creator! What have I done? Dr. Neo Periwinkle Cortex here. With this ingenious device, this ordinary bandicoot will be mutated into the perfect leader for my cortex commander. It's alive! Stop! Obey your creator! What have I done?
Yeah, those looked insane. It's perfect for a Crash cartoon. That animation was fantastic. While I don't like the first one all that much, the second one really sells me. The reason why I claim that this is existence unconfirmed and why this is more of a hoax and a rumor than it is to be, legitimate is because of two reasons. One, the person deleted their Reddit account after the whole scenario happened. They didn't have much of a history on Reddit to begin with. They kind of just had a couple of things and then uploaded it, /r/Crash Bandicoot subreddit, and then just dipped. Secondly, Amazon has said nothing about this. Now, there is no rule saying Amazon had to. I mean, this was a pretty big deal in the video game community when it first revealed, but Amazon didn't say anything. And I know they don't have to. They probably didn't give a shit what we think, but it's still interesting they didn't have any comments. Activision didn't say anything, or the Crash Bandicoot community didn't have anything to say. Like, not even the people that were working on Crash 4 at the time, which Crash 4 was still in development when this was released, they didn't have anything to say. They would have at least had some sort of, communication with the project. So what gives? What's going on here? Well, I'm gonna be real with you guys. I don't know what to think of this. I really want to believe this is real, but the more I think about it, I don't think it is. I had a long conversation with some random guy on YouTube in the comment section explaining to me why he thinks this is fake. I'm gonna be honest, I kind of forgot where those comments came from or where they originated from. If so, I would have read them out to you, and he probably would have made a really good point. Unfortunately, I don't have those, so I'm just going to have to use my memory. From what he said, he made a good point about how the animation was just too rushed to be an idea or a pitch pilot to sell to a network. And, I mean, I can't really agree with that because a lot of pitch pilots are pretty rough. I mean, have you seen the Dora pitch pilot? So, the idea of it being rushed, and so that's why it's fake, idea is just kind of, I don't know, it's kind of iffy for me. It still doesn't kind of change the fact that I think this is bullshit. I want to believe this is real, but there's just so much evidence backing up that it's not. It's just hard to convince myself. Maybe one day Crash will get a cartoon, and maybe one day we'll get more information and a final answer whether this is real or not. But in the meantime, the Crash Bandicoot cartoon pilot will remain a mystery. Welcome back, folks. I'm Mr.Bones, the internet's most unrecognizable but classy skeleton. After making 2 videos covering Lost Media, I can definitely assure you that I'm getting pretty tired of talking about Lost Media, and I could use a break from just talking about cases of Lost Media. I'm gonna be real. I have a lot of cool ideas, so hopefully you guys are ready for that, but in the meantime, this will be kind of like one of the last Lost Media videos I'll be talking about for a while, but don't let that discourage you. These 3 cases of Lost Media are absolutely interesting. 3 of these cases I guarantee you've never heard of, and if you have, good for you, you get a gold star, but most of the people watching this, they don't know anything about these cases. The first case is very interesting, as it's the most popular case of Lost Media, a kid's pilot. You guys remember Earthworm Jim?
No.
You don't? Well, allow Mr.Bones to tell you all about it. This is the story of the Earthworm Jim test animation.
I'll solve this problem with my 4 hyper-intelligent brains. I'm hungry. I'm cold. I'm itchy. Pussy.
Groovy.
I'm not sure a lot of you know who Earthworm Jim is, so allow me to introduce you to such an amazing character. Earthworm Jim's a cartoon character that was created by Doug TenNapel in 1993 with the help of David Perry and a couple of other members at Shiny Entertainment. Earthworm Jim was kind of Doug's test as to him getting a job at Shiny, and his whole shtick was that he had to create a cartoon character to sell to Playmates Toys after their bank on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They simply wanted their own character to make money on, and they needed a new artist to create a new character. So David Perry suggested Doug TenNapel, as he knew him from Virgin Games, and Doug went on board. He immediately pitched the idea of Earthworm Jim, which was this worm in a super suit, and they immediately loved it. Which, I'm not gonna lie, I gotta give props to Doug. I mean, he managed to create one of the most interesting character designs of all time. Have you seen Earthworm Jim's character design? Drawing him is like one of the weirdest trips ever. Okay, here goes nothing. Draw that worm head. Okay, looks like Jim got a little too many extra protons there, little atoms. Alright, next we need his body. And of course, Jim can't be his body without his super suit, so let's just bring that on over here. Chat energy. There we go. Cut that off. Don't worry, Hank, you don't need it. Bye-bye. There we go. Much better. Man, we can make this better, though. Beautiful. Alright, one more thing, and I think we'll be good. There we go. Oh wait, hold on, I'm sorry, I forgot. Sorry to offend you all, I didn't mean to do that. There we go, that's better. One more thing. There. He's perfect.
Don't let your kids watch it!
I'm about to bust. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought this was the bathroom. Oh, good lord!
Wait, what was I talking about again? Oh, right, Lost Media. Why are we talking about him? Well, Earthworm Jim has a very fascinating case of Lost Media. In fact, he has a shit ton of cases of Lost Media. There's a PSP game that was in development that got scrapped. There's a PS2 game, an Xbox game that got scrapped. Mainly video game Lost Media, really. There was a pitch for an Earthworm Jim film that was trashed, an idea for a TV show, thrown in the trash. It's a real shame because, like, Doug TenNapel really does like this character, and every time he gets the opportunity to make something with him, it just flies out the window.
Well, people call me Earthworm Jim, and I like it. It's my brand, it's me.
No, I'm not sure about that one. I don't know if that checks out.
I'm just here to say that the Earthworm Jim Lost Media case of tonight is one hell of a mystery, because I've been looking for this thing since 2018 and I still can't get answers. I mean, kind of gotten answers, but we'll get to that. So in 2018, I guess I'll just tell the story from beginning to end. In 2018, I was on Google looking through Earthworm Jim images like a real Chad when I came across this screenshot of this magazine ad, which was featuring the Earthworm Jim cartoon. It was its premiere, and how it was going to come to Kids WB, and it was going to be one of the big primetime TV shows. Unfortunately, this was very strange and off-putting to me. Probably wondering why. Well, that's because it looked nothing like the cartoon. Here are a couple of screenshots. Hell, I'll even put clips of the cartoon since I don't think anyone's going to copyright this. There's so many out-of-context Earthworm Jim clips on YouTube. I'll put one up right here. This is a clip from the Earthworm Jim cartoon series.
Good going, Ace!
Let's just acknowledge that I made a mistake and move on.
Move on? How can we move on? The entire universe is destroyed!
Oh, come on! There must be something left! Oh yeah, I bet someone thought that was real funny.
And then here are screenshots of the supposed test animation. Yeah, Looking at these side by side, you can definitely tell that these are very different from each other. This is not the same show, this is not the same art, and this isn't the same thing. So what is this? Well, seeing as how I was into Lost Media at the time, I put 2 and 2 together and came to the conclusion that this is some sort of lost episode / pilot of the series, and this is a serious case of Lost Media. Here is the only issue with this. I had no online presence at all, so I couldn't just ask someone if they could help me look for it. It wasn't going to be that easy. I needed an actual professional to help me look for this thing. So I looked around for Lost Media YouTubers that could supposedly spread the word.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
Yeah, I know, I was a stupid kid that thought that would be a brilliant idea. Let other people do the work for me. Look, I was a pretty dumb kid back then. I'm the same type of kid that crammed crayons up his nose and would expect to smell the rainbow, so again, I wasn't the brightest bulb in the Christmas tree. But again, I decided to start a Twitter page to spread the word, with the dumbass hashtag, "The worm must be heard."
This is not okay. This needs to stop now. This is cancer.
Like that was going to do anything. Spoiler, it did not. In fact, people were just getting really pissed off with my stupid hashtag. So yeah, I decided to start a Twitter page, and for some reason that was going to do something. Again, I don't know what my thinking process was. I reached out to Doug Tenaple and I tagged him. I was like, "Hey, Mr. Tenaple, do you know anything about this Lost Earthworm Jim pilot? Hashtag the worm must be heard." But apparently he did respond, and he's like, "Yeah, the animation was so bad that Universal probably locked that bitch away." So that was fun to hear. And then I decided to do something. I started a Discord server, which was probably the biggest mistake of my entire life. Obviously, the Discord server was dedicated to finding the Earthworm Jim pilot. And honestly, after the whole debacle I had within it, I think I'd rather peel all my fingernails off. It was just the biggest waste of time, and it absolutely sucked. I'm not going to get into it, but yeah, it was pretty painful. We got nothing done in that server, and I'm one of the reasons why. But yeah, I decided to just go solo on this bitch and do a triple whammy supreme and find this myself. Luckily, I did get in contact with Doug Tenaple. He started this Neverhood Eternal Clay NFT Discord server, so I was in luck there.
Nice.
I reached out to him. I was like one of the first people that joined the server. He just started that at that point in time, and I asked him about it, and this is what he had to say. "Yes, I made it, but it wasn't a pilot, but in fact a test animation given to the animation studio who was involved with making it. I, along with another animator by the name of William Manugat, helped me complete the animation. They were simply a gag animation, a gag reel of sorts. I'm sorry, kiddo, that's all I really can remember. It was just so long ago. I know that we sold it to Universal, so if you're looking for it, I'm not the person to ask." And then I asked him about this Will Manugat individual. Does he have it? So I asked him. He goes, "No idea. But my guess is that when we handed the test over, we sold it to Universal. But maybe Will might know. Want me to reach out and ask?" And of course, I said yes. So this is what William Manugat had to say. "Hi, Doug. Yep, that was me. You came up with the gag sketches that I stitched together onto a storyboard animation, and you did most of the character voices, as well as me doing some background characters with non-specific dialogue. It's what sold the show. But by the time it sold, I'd move over to Grass to produce Street Fighter and supervise X-Men, and consult on other shows. It was so different than the final version of Earthworm Jim that I can't imagine them actually using it in the series." So there you have it, folks. Will doesn't know either, so if anyone's going to get any leads, I don't recommend asking them because I have already asked them. Please don't pull me and my friends. But yeah, that's really all I can say about the Earthworm Jim pilot at this point. I don't think we're ever going to get this found. I know that I got someone to make a Lost Media Wiki article on the subject. I gave them all of the substances they needed. I tried making an article in the Lost Media Wiki like 5 times, and every single fucking time they would remove it because I wasn't following guidelines or something like that. I wasn't like making the article correctly, so they would just keep taking it down, and I would try to reach out to moderators and ask. It's like, I gotta put this on here. But the only thing I was trying to do, like, I wasn't really trying to find it. I was doing what Lost Media Limbo is all about. I was trying to spread the word about it so that someone with Lost Media hunting skill can actually look for it for me. I would love to look for it myself, but I don't have that sort of expertise. That's all I can do. And with that said, Earthworm Jim, the pilot, may stay lost forever. What's ironic about this whole situation is that everyone has been dubbing this thing as a pilot. Hell, I've been saying it throughout this video because it's what most people know it by. But it's not a pilot, it's actually a test animation, and Doug confirmed that to me. It's not something they were trying to sell to Universal. Universal already wanted an Earthworm Jim cartoon because the video game was so freaking popular. They just needed a test to give to animators so they know how Earthworm Jim moves in an environment, along with all the other characters. So yeah, that's basically it. And that's all I can say about Earthworm Jim. Will the test animation ever be found? My guess is, unless someone has some serious Lost Media hunting expertise, I doubt it will. But until then, Earthworm Jim mystery will forever still be really frickin' groovy.
taste like baguettes? And why?
So recently I posted on my Twitter, speaking of which, that's at the Mr.Bones Show if you want to go check me out. Trust me, not only will you get more women and boys depending on what you prefer, you'll also get a free pony and God will forgive you of your sins, so go check me out and even follow me if you want. Anyway, so on the Mr.Bones Show Twitter, I basically was like, you know what, they should make a Rayman VR game. That's really something that needs to happen because a lot of VR games, one of their whole shtick is that you have floating hands. I've noticed that, like Job Simulator for example. You have these big goofy cartoon hands, and I'm like, man, this reminds me of Rayman. Oh, wait. And then that got me thinking, like, is there Rayman Lost Media? Because Rayman's one of those franchises where I love it, but I don't talk about it, or I bring it up to people, which is strange because I love the first Rayman game, I love the second one, and I really love the third one, despite everyone saying that it's the weakest one in the series.
Stop it. Get some help.
I digress. So, here's what I have. So after doing some investigation, I came to the conclusion that apparently there is this short film that is Lost Media of Rayman. This isn't anything generic. This isn't like a dub or lost levels from a Rayman game. Like, this isn't Garfield shit. This is straight up a film. Most of the material in the supposed animation, short film, whatever you want to call it, is used for promotional material. It was used for Rayman Gold, which was an expansion pack for the Rayman game on PC, the first one. And they also used it in animation promotional material shit for Rayman 2, The Great Escape, which was early in development at this point in time. This animation was called Rayman's Training, and I guess this was their way of testing the silicon graphic technology that they were experimenting with when they were developing Rayman 2. What's strange about this is that Rayman looks more like his PS1 adaptation than he does in his PS2 adaptation. Like, just look at the two images. I'll put them up on screen. You can tell that there is an artistic difference between what Rayman looked like in the first game and what he looks like in the second game, and there's definitely a redesign of the third game, which is the one everyone knows and loves. So what's so special about this? Well, it's very clear that Rayman 2, The Great Escape was early in development because his design looks nothing like this in Rayman's Training. He looks more like PS1 Rayman, like the first Rayman ever, and I like it. There's a charm to it. It's very cutesy and very warm feeling to it. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people prefer that design. Supposedly the short film's only 3 minutes, and the only information that we have on it is from this blog spot. Unfortunately, unlike the Astro Boy film, it's not on a Tumblr page, I hate to inform you, but it is on some sort of random blog spot. Someone has a bunch of screen caps of it, and there's a bunch of like clips of it on YouTube if you want to go check those out. I have links in the description if you want to investigate that for yourself, but the only problem with Rayman's Training is that like there's so much language barrier regarding this case. It's the only thing that's preventing me from looking into this deeper is because most of the sources that regard Rayman's Training are all in French, and I don't know if you could tell or not just by listening to my ugly voice. I'm not French, and nor can I speak it in any degree. So if this is interesting to you and you like Rayman, then be my guest, look into this, and hell, reach out to me. You could DM me at the @Mr.Bones Twitter. Like, seriously, just check me out, bro. I got some cool artwork, totally not trying to plug myself for the 5th time. So, other than that, Rayman's Training is interesting. Hopefully we can get this thing found. Apparently this is a newer case of Lost Media. This was brought up to people's attention like in early 2021, so here's to hoping that this thing gets found soon, because damn is it interesting. Welcome folks, I'm Mr. Bones, the internet's most unrecognizable but classy skeleton, and when I'm not contradicting myself making a 4th Lost Media video, well, I'm doing that exact thing, making a 4th Lost Media video. Going on the Lost Media Wiki, going on the Lost Media Wiki forums. These are two pastimes that I figured I was going to be taking a break from a long time. But as it turns out, there are a lot of cases that just, how do I put this? This abruptly came to my attention. I don't know. My point being is that Lost Media, it's my bread and butter. I can't help but get enough of it. So today I decided to make another Lost Media Limbo video, just for the hell of it. Why not? You know? But the reason why I'm bringing this information to you today is because I found cases that are not only interesting and that you have guarantee you haven't heard of before, but there is stuff that I've discussed in the past that has been updated, so I'd like to bring some attention to those and just make another Lost Media Limbo video. So I'm sure most of you know this, but if you've watched my Limbo videos, there isn't necessarily a theme. A lot of Lost Media YouTubers tend to have a theme with their Lost Media videos, which is understandable and keeps everything organized. Just kind of feels boring after you watch it. As much as I like those videos, I like videos that are a mixed bag, a Caesar salad of Lost Media, if you will. So without further ado, here are some cases that are a bit of a mixed bag, but I think you might find pretty damn interesting. I'm Mr. Bones, and this is Lost Media Limbo, Volume 4, The Limbo Lives On.
What can I say? I was a simple child, afraid of simple things, and this is something that I wish I wasn't remembering right now. So picture this. It's 2012. You're 7 years old. Wait, hold on. Let me do the math in my head real quick. Okay, no, I was 8. I was 8 years old, sorry for that. But okay, so picture this. It's 2012, you're 8 years old, you're on Nicktoons, which is the preferred channel you'd like to watch all your cartoons on. For those of you that don't know what Nicktoons is, just let me do a quick little recap for you. Nicktoons was the parent channel of Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon in this point in time were so heavily based on putting a lot of sitcoms and other bullshit that I didn't like watching on their main channel, other than, SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents. But if you really wanted to watch the good shit, I'm talking like Mighty B, Fanboy and Chum Chum, if you're a real gamer, then you'd go on Nicktoons, and that's what you'd watch. But yeah, I went on Nicktoons, and it was a good time. I love a lot of Nicktoons, and don't think this is the last time we'll be talking about some of my favorite cartoons from that channel. But moving on. So apparently there is a series of bumpers from 2012 during Halloween that played called Nicktoons Zombified. Nicktoons Zombified was essentially these bumpers where you'd see classic Nicktoons characters, but as zombies. It's a pretty simple premise, right? Well, as it turns out, the more I read this article, which, by the way, I found this on the Lost Media Wiki forums, it just came to my attention because I couldn't help but vividly remember these. Yeah, what do you know? It's the first case in this, the fourth volume, and I'm already talking about a case at Lost Media that means something sentimental to me. So apparently there were 4 shorts. Bessie from Mighty B, there was SpongeBob and Patrick, Cosmo and Wanda, and Fanboy and Chum Chum. But I vividly remember there being an Otis the Cow one from Barnyard. Who else? Danny Phantom, I think. So maybe this is just my memory playing tricks on me. The mind is a funny place. But I can't help but vividly remember these. So this person who was investigating this ended up making a huge thread on the Lost Media Wiki forums, and it got a bunch of people's attention. So much so that they actually dug up a lot of stuff. As it turns out that they actually found a lot of these shorts on Nick's old website using the Wayback Machine. But yeah, they found video recordings of those original ads. Unfortunately though, they're unwatchable. They used Flash to play most of their videos, and so yeah, and seeing as how Flash is, well, dead as dirt, there's no way we can actually recover these or watch them, which sucks. So it's practically another Slamfest, except instead of it being a live stream that's unaccessible, it's a video made in Flash that no longer works. So it's another similar case. The reason why I bring this up in particular is because, one, I remember this, and I feel like if I bring this to other people's attention, they will remember this too. And also, it just sounds so weird. There's one thing that scared the living out of me. It was seeing my favorite cartoon characters, really anything soft and cutesy, turned into something horrifying. And the idea of SpongeBob being a zombie just doesn't sit right with me. Even as a 17-year-old guy, I'm thinking about it, and it just kind of gives me chills down my spine. I never really liked that concept, and most episodes with those kinds of cartoons, Halloween specials specifically, use that type of plot where the character would turn into some sort of monster. It's happened before, alright? I'll pull up some ideas on screen. But that kind of idea scared the shit out of me, and I vividly remember being horrified by these ads. I remember being terrified by these things. I'd hide under my covers and suck my thumb until they were over. Where I'm getting with this is that they found screenshots after many digs into the website and investigation. They actually found thumbnails of what those videos looked like, and after seeing them, I thought I remembered them. When I looked at those images, it's like all of the memories came back to me like a VHS tape playing, rewinding everything. It was insane. I wanted to bring this to y'all's attention. Do you guys remember these ads? Do you remember Nicktoons Zombified? If you do, then tell me in the comments below, because I wanted to bring some awareness to this. Not a lot of people are talking about it except for on the forums, and last time I checked, almost 95% of people that are involved in the Lost Media Wiki community never go on the forums. Yeah, I figured I'd bring this little video to you all. With that said, Nicktoons Zombified, until now, will remain a mystery. Aw yeah, let's go gamers! Rayman's Training, the long-lost Rayman short from 1990-something, can't remember, has been found, supposedly. Here's the story, here's the scoop. So, from what I remember, someone by the name of Glowbox Moment was sure to let me know about this in my Lost Media Limbo Volume 3 video. As it turns out, Rayman's Training was found in a Beyond Good and Evil DVD prototype, of all things. It was just sitting there in the code.
Some buggers dug it out and put it on the internet. This is what they gave us. This is Rayman's training. Spoiler, it's a little anticlimactic. So yeah, there's no audio if you couldn't tell, and the reason why that is, I'm not sure. I really don't know what the hell's going on here, but let's just investigate this for a little bit. Obviously, Rayman's training is silent. There's nothing here, which is weird because you'd think with all of this wacky cartoon hijinks that's going on in the video, you'd think there'd be some, sound effects added to it, right? Well, here's my theory. I think that the audio is still lost media. Just because the video was in the Beyond Good and Evil DVD doesn't mean that audio was there too. I don't know why this was sitting in a prototype of all things. You'd think it would be in like a Rayman 3 prototype or something. Maybe it was in like a bonus feature you could get unlocking it. I don't know. But I don't understand why this doesn't have any audio. There has to be audio, right? Well, maybe there wasn't audio this whole time. A lot of people in the Rayman community are arguing over this idea if there is or isn't audio to Rayman's training. I personally think there is. We just haven't found a copy that actually exists with audio. I would like to reach out to Michel Ancel, the creator of Rayman and the creator of Beyond Good and Evil, and ask his thoughts, but I don't think I could really reach him in either way. He's kind of out of the gaming market entirely, so I don't really think he'd want to really think about anything Rayman or Beyond Good and Evil related, but who knows, maybe he would. I just wanted to quickly bring this up because, one, this animation is gorgeous for 1995. It's crazy that something that I talked about on Lost Media Limbo was found pretty recently. I think this was found about a couple of weeks ago. So let's go, gamers. Rayman's training was found, and I couldn't have been done without the many amazing people behind the Beyond Good and Evil prototype development. Can I be honest with you guys? I have no idea why they decided to dig in a Beyond Good and Evil prototype. But, I mean, hey, more power to you, I guess. I guess that gives us an excuse to dig through the code of our favorite classic video games. But with that said, Rayman's training has been found. And I guess the best thing to say to all of this is... Yeah! Well, seeing as how the new Sonic movie is going to be coming out in pretty much next week, I figured I'd talk about something that a lot of you, many of you individuals would like to hear about. Another lost Sonic film that you've probably heard of. It's called Sonic Wonders of the Lost World. Wait. It's called Sonic Wonders of the World. Sorry, I had to look at my papers again. I don't know why I was thinking Wonders of the Lost... Oh, shit. Oh, no. Oh, that game. So yeah, Sonic Wonders of the Lost World... Fuck! So yeah, Sonic Wonders of the World was a lost 1995 film that was supposed to coincide with Sonic's new 3D adventure, Sonic Extreme, coming out holiday 1995. Except it did not come out in 1995. In fact, it didn't come out at all. That little bitch was canceled. That's another story for another day, my friends. But back to Sonic. So Sonic
Wonders of the World or whatever was a film that was developed by MGM and Sega, and it was supposed to coincide with Sonic Extreme, but why was it canceled? What was this film, and what relevance does it have today to today's Lost Media Limbo video? Apparently, a full transcript of Sonic Wonders of the World was found recently, and I found out about this because of the Lost Media Wiki. And also, I was thinking about Sonic movies, and then I went back and watched Pat Mac's old video on Sonic Wonders of the World, and I wondered if any new current updates have been discovered as of recent, and as it turns out, they have. So, without further ado, let's talk about Sonic Wonders of the World. So, for those of that haven't watched Pat Mac's video on this, which by the way I think you should, not only does he talk about this movie, but a bunch of other canceled Sonic films that apparently were in development, but sadly scrapped. This one was the first Sonic movie to ever be developed or worked on, and it was going to be worked on by MGM. Now, Sonic Wonders of the World was essentially a CG live-action hybrid. Good God. From 1995 that Sega was actually pretty excited for. Now, I would read the summary of this movie, but frankly that would take about an hour to tell you everything there is to know about this movie. But to cut things short, here's my Mr.Bones-esque version of what I have to show you all with this movie. So basically it was about this boy named Josh. Josh is a shitty little shit that made a paper that was very inappropriate at school. His teacher told him to rewrite the paper or he would tell his parents. Josh didn't really give a shit all that much, as he doesn't really like his parents that much anyway, because they're fighting. Apparently Josh's parents are in the middle of a divorce, and Josh wants nothing to do with them, and all he wants to do is play radical Sonic Extreme on his Sega Saturn, coming out December 1995. And so apparently Josh's dad, Hal, is this mad scientist that was working on a latest invention of his called XRI, better known as Extremely Radical Intelligence. Yeah, if you couldn't tell this movie was made in 1995, I think that was the kicker for you. But anyway, Josh hooks up Sonic Extreme and the Sega Saturn to his dad's machine or whatever, and it converts all of the models from Sonic Extreme into the real world, including Sonic and Dr. Robotnik. And Sonic has to go on an adventure with Josh to stop Dr. Robotnik from doing wacky Robotnik hijinks. Yui! I don't know why I added that, but you get the idea. So this movie was going to be a generic character comes into the real human world as type of film, you know, before this crossover came out. And it sounds like a pretty basic kids film for 1995. I think it's pretty damn basic for a Sonic film. If they're going to make a Sonic movie, just a heads up, I already know there's already one and there's a second one coming out soon. I feel like if they were going to make a very first Sonic movie in the 90s, they should have made an animated one exclusively in Sonic's world, but that's just my idea, you know. Who cares what Mr. Bones thinks, right? This film was canceled because Sega got cold feet on the project and just kind of dipped MGM entirely, and MGM just got screwed over with the entire project. I don't know the exact details, but I do know the writer was a person that revealed a lot of information about Sonic Wonders of the World. He showed the transcript, and I don't know who specifically found the full script for it, but what I can tell is that Sega intervened a lot, and they wanted to like change the character of Robotnik into a separate villain, which wouldn't make any sense because if this isn't a tie-in for Sonic Extreme, right, and Robotnik's the villain of Sonic Extreme, then why would Sega want to change the villain if that villain isn't in the video game? That just doesn't add up. That doesn't make any sense. So I'm not fully sure what's going behind the development or production of this movie, but clearly there's a lot of things that we don't know about that I want to know about, because this is like, there's one thing I love, it's just really cheesy CGI 90s films. I love them, and Sonic, just two of those things together, dear God, I want as much information on this film as possible. So yeah, that's Sonic Wonders of the Lost World. This movie is the definition of Lost. There's no way we're going to be able to get our hands on any other materials from it. If we can find some like screenshots or something from what would Sonic look like from the movie, which I hope he looked like his Greg Martin design from like the covers of the original North American Genesis covers. If he looks like that, I am going to shit my pants. It's gonna look so cheesy. Oh, but yeah, that's enough nerding out for me on this channel. So moving on to the next case, that was Sonic Wonders of the Lost World, and that is gonna stay lost for good. Okay, well, this is the last case of tonight. So, maybe you guys haven't noticed this, but I deleted my old update to me and my friends on my channel. Now, that video sucks ass. That was the most recent video I made using that old video editing software I used to use. I don't like that anymore. Going back at it, after using Adobe Premiere for my Donkey Kong video, I can definitely see the quality change, and I'm going to be sticking to this format for now on. But I watched my old me and my friends update video, and there's two things that I didn't like about it. One, it was almost an exact copy of Sewer Reviewer's video on it, and it just
felt really I felt like I was just hopping on a bandwagon, but I didn't even know he made a video covering it. I saw on Twitter that LSSQ was like, hey, we found screenshots of it, check out our live stream, and I was like, oh, this could be the perfect opportunity, because Me and My Friends is like my favorite Lost Media search of all time. I love that case so much. It's so weird and mysterious, and it's backyardigans. You know, I just can't get enough of my old favorite childhood TV show. I made a video on it, found out Sewer made a video on it like literally 3 days after I uploaded mine, so I took the video down, simple as that. But this time, I actually have interesting, brand new information to give you all about the Me and My Friends search. Information that I have found myself with the help of LSSQ and a good friend of mine by the name of General Wartortle. For those of you that don't know, General had been working on the Me and My Friends case for a while now, and he's been a part of the past Sewer Reviewer parts, or whatever, of Me and My Friends. He's a big contributor to the search, is what I'm trying to say. And we all worked together, and we were in a big lead that I thought was going to get us somewhere huge, like getting a copy of the pilot found huge. But unfortunately, it kind of fell to dog. So allow me to explain. So the story goes is that one day I decided to rejoin the Me and My Friends search. Now I had left it a long time ago, but after the Me and My Friends images had been found, I couldn't help but just join it again, see what's going around, and take into consideration this is the point in time where I was done with Lost Media entirely. But for some reason, I just have a soft spot for Me and My Friends, so I joined the search again, and a lot of people are really happy to see me there. They welcome me back, and I tell them all the information that I had discovered recently regarding Me and My Friends. Well, first things first, so Brown Johnson was mentioned in Sewer's old video on Me and My Friends. She was a person that worked closely with Janice Burgess, the creator of the Backyardigans. And we had this idea that she had some sort of involvement with the Me and My Friends project. We figured she produced it or encouraged Janice to make it. I'm here to tell you that she had no involvement in Me and My Friends whatsoever, and that is because I reached out to her on LinkedIn, and she was so confused. She thought I was a crazy person. I was like, hey, I'm wanting to know if you knew anything about Me and My Friends, and she straight up was like, what's Me and My Friends? Just dead silence. I'm like, it's a pilot that I figured you'd worked on, and she didn't say anything. I felt so bad about that, and that just goes to show you that don't assume people are involved with a project. Even if you are sure they are, don't just assume. Ask them first, as if, hey, were you involved in so-and-so? Mr.Bones' Lost Media tip for you all. Next things next, after that embarrassment, I showed my findings to the community. Well, as it turns out, I private messaged General Wartortle and asked him if we had really reached out to the director, the biggest lead we had in the search. I'm sure many of you know what I'm talking about. And he said that the Backyardigan Wiki admin supposedly reached out to them, but to no avail. She said that she apparently had a copy, but said that she wasn't going to release it, which is strange. Now, I said, okay, they reached out to her, but did we reach out to her? And he said no. So I said, well, why don't we do that? Seems pretty fucking self-explanatory, right, guys? I make arrangements with LSSQ and General Wartortle to go on LinkedIn, find the director's name, because they dropped. I'm not gonna say her name, because that's going to spawn a bunch of shitheads that are gonna go in and reach out to her and be like, oh, do you know anything about Me and My Friends? No, that's the last thing I want. LSSQ was there only to help me write a proper message to her, and I was like, okay, LSSQ, what do we do? And LSSQ basically was just like, okay, here's what you're gonna say to her. And I told her what he told me, and she responded. Holy shit, she responded to my message. What do you know? So, I was just like, oh, LSSQ, she replied to me. Oh my god, holy shit. Oh. And LSSQ was like, oh, yo, bro, this is big, bro. This is huge. This is like the biggest lead in the entire search we've had so far. General Wartortle was going 8-bit. He was like, I was really excited, if you can't hear the tone of my voice. LSSQ was basically like, okay, let's keep things slow. But I asked her what the plot was, and she told me that there wasn't necessarily a plot. From what I can remember, because I don't want to read the message, I'll put it on screen, but from what I remember during the recording of this, she says there wasn't really a plot, more than it was just the idea of when you are waiting, there are things you can do when you are waiting to pass the time, basically. So the Backyardigans essentially were doing things to pass the time because they were waiting for something. Waiting for what? Maybe those flags that they're holding in those images was maybe an activity that they did to maybe pass the time. You know, maybe they're making flags and playing with them, I guess. Maybe the Meerkat showed them how to do that. Who knows? So then I asked her the golden question. I was like, do you have a copy? And she says that she does, but she doesn't want to release it and is hoping that one day it'll just release online. So yeah, I was a little disappointed there. And so was LSSQ and War Turtle. All three of us were pretty much defeated at that. It's so weird though, because LSSQ even agrees with this. It's so weird that she reached out to us. She was willing to communicate with us, but when I asked her about if there's any footage, she's just like, oh yeah, hopefully some footage gets released online, but I'm not going to show you anything. I just think personally she's supposed to keep quiet about this kind of stuff. So that's me and my friends, I suppose. That's really where the story ends. LSSQ has a few more ideas up his sleeve as to what we could do in the search, but I just wanted to talk about this again because me and my friends is cool as hell. It's like my favorite Lost Media case, and I wanted to make a proper update video to the me and my friends case. That's what I've been doing as far as contributing to Lost Media, and I'm sure many of you know this by now, but I don't necessarily dabble in actually investigating shit. That's not my forte. Reaching out and communicating with the audience, that's my job. I'm just the messenger. I'm not usually the guy that does the dirty work, but in this case, I couldn't help myself. So yeah, that's me and my friends. If you guys have any questions regarding it, or maybe you have any ideas of what we could do for leads, don't do this yourself. Be a part of the community and help the search. Don't just do this by yourself, because chances are you're going to piss off the wrong person and they're going to be coming to us because we're the biggest group of people looking for this thing. So if you're going to do something or have an idea, share it with us. Leave a comment down below, I suppose. Welcome folks, I'm Mr.Bones, and welcome back to another episode of Lost Media Limbo, the series in which I pick out my favorite Lost Media topics, or Lost Media topics that just tickle my fancy. It's been a while since I've done an episode of Lost Media Limbo. It's definitely been a hot minute, and seeing as how there are new Lost Media topics that have caught my eye recently, and the fact that my audio has just improved significantly over the course of the past few months, I figured there isn't a better time to do it. So without further ado, let's get started. Here are some current cases of Lost Media that I think you might find pretty damn interesting. I'm Mr.Bones, and this is Lost Media Limbo, Volume 5. The first topic of tonight takes us to a certain nostalgic character, at least to me.
I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm strong to the finish, 'cause I eat my spinach. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man.
Popeye the Sailor Man. What can you say about Popeye, huh? I mean, he's a cartoon character that was literally made only to sell a vegetable. I mean, that's pretty monumental, to be honest. And when you really consider Popeye as a brand, you don't think of the food spinach when you think of Popeye. I mean, like, you do, but you don't think of, like, it is a company that sells spinach. You think, oh, it's the cartoon character Popeye, you know? He has hundreds upon hundreds of cartoons that are absolutely iconic. I mean, he's up there with Bugs Bunny, Tom and Jerry, and all the other classic 30s cartoon characters. He's a household name, let's be real here. So it makes total sense that Popeye has, at least in some shape or form, cases of Lost Media. And while I haven't dove deep into what Popeye has regarding his Lost Media cases, I'm sure there are cases of Lost Media that are regarded to Popeye. I'm sure there are some lost shorts. I mean, maybe there are a few Popeye projects that were in development but sadly canned. But this one is monumental. This one's huge, and it's probably the biggest case of Lost Media that I actually haven't thought about, and that's the lost Jendy Tarabowski Popeye film that was in development over at Sony Animation. Now, believe it or not, this film actually has a bit of a following behind it. I know that originally the film was going to be made and released in 2017 by Jendy Tarabowski, the creator of Dexter's Lab, Samurai Jack, and most recently Hotel Transylvania. Now, Jendy had worked on this Popeye film for a few years now with Sony, and it just eventually was canned, which really sucks because this film was going to be pretty much like an origin story of Popeye. It was going to be very faithful to the original source material. It was going to explain where Popeye came from, who his father was, why he gets so strong eating spinach, how he met olive oil, and how he tangled up with Bluto. It was going to be a very faithful adaptation of the character, character, and of course it was going to be faithful because it was made by Jenny Tarabowski. This guy is like a animation saint. So, and if it was going to have the same animation style as Hotel Transylvania, you know you were going to be in for a good treat.
Maybe just a little. That muffin is looking awfully like a hamster.
Unfortunately though, the film was canned by Sony, though actually we did find out why it got canceled. A lot of people like to think that the Emoji Movie was the reason why this film was canned, but it wasn't actually. I'm actually here to debunk that rumor. It was not the Emoji Movie. It was actually due to the fact that Jendy and Sony had terrible internal issues. Sony wanted to change the Popeye brand to a very different take, and Jendy Tarabowski wanted to stay faithful to the source material, as, you know, he grew up with Popeye and he wanted it to be like the cartoons he grew up with. So unfortunately there were issues and the film had to be canned, which at the end of the day sucks to see. Interestingly though, a channel by the name of Chip Buddy released a full animatic of the Popeye film. Not fully animated, but it was the entire storyboard test, featuring voice acting by Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants.
We're off to find the shipwreck shaped like a shark. Maybe we should get some directions first.
But my big question here is, how the hell did this end up on YouTube? Chip Buddy isn't a content creator, this is the only thing they've ever uploaded, so clearly this was only uploaded just for the sake of preservation purposes. Maybe this supposed user is a member of the original team, he had a reel of it and just uploaded it online for people to watch, who knows. But from what I watched, I did watch the film, I have it downloaded on my computer because Sony has been taking down people that re-upload the full animatic on YouTube and on the Internet Archive. Sony ninjas are everywhere. So I downloaded a copy of it and I watched the film. And my god, as a Popeye fanboy, this is fantastic. This is by far the best adaptation of Popeye that I've ever seen. Jendy, my man, you've once again done it. Even Jeep, one of the obscure characters from the Popeye series, was in this film and he made a major role. He was like the cute, goofy, cartoon sidekick character. It was very interesting and I loved this take on the character. It was definitely very faithful. They even had a classic Popeye villain, the Sea Hag, which has been shown in other Popeye media.
Oh, he's Popeye the Sailor Man. He's strong, confident, because he's the Sailor Man.
Did you know I own that on DVD? Anyway, an actual genuine CGI adaptation of Popeye would have been fantastic, and it's such a shame that this got canned because, like, this was great. If Sony just shut their asses up and let Jendy make the film he wanted to make, this would have revitalized the Popeye brand. I mean, like, it would have gotten sequels, hell, it probably would have gotten a TV show, merchandise, the works. Popeye would have been brought back from the dead if Sony just let Jendy make the film he wanted to make, and that's a real shame. At least we have this full animatic, though. It's good to see what could have been. With that said, though, the Lost Popeye animatic, I guess you could call it, technically has been found. Yo, Mr. White, we're in Lost Media Limbo. Jesse, what are you talking about? Lost Media Limbo? What even is that? Walter, you're a case of lost media, Walter. Just talk about Walt's warning, Walter. Yeah, Mr. White, talk about Walt's warning. What even is... See, I have no idea what you're talking about. What are you... Dad, what even is that? My name's Flynn. Okay, shitposting aside. It's probably going to be the biggest topic of tonight. Walt's Warning. Walt's Warning is a strange little case of lost media. It's a 360 flash short film, I guess you could call it, that was developed by the same people behind Breaking Bad. It was also developed by a company by the name of Ralph, from what I can tell. I haven't dove too much into the details, but from what I can tell, so essentially what Walt's Warning is Breaking Bad, the popular meme status level iconic series that it is, had a cute little game, I guess you could say, where you could send this supposed name, or you can write down the name, the last name, the email, and a photo of a loved one, send it to them, and they will receive this video of Walter catching them in the desert, trapping you in the RV, and he basically threatens you and your family by calling you by your name or your loved one's name, burning a photo of you or your family. It was very cool and was very surreal, I have to say.
You know, my wife
is pregnant with a baby we neither intended nor can afford. My 15-year-old son has cerebral palsy, and within 18 months, I will be dead. You have no idea the sacrifices I have made for this family. You so much as breathe a word about what you saw here today. Have I made myself clear? You just can't take your eyes off that, can you? Huh? What a good look. What would you do even if you got a hold of it, huh? Good night, Chris.
Definitely very ambitious, and Bryan Cranston obviously reprised his role as Walter, goes on to claim that he had recorded over 500, 600 names just to completely immerse every player that he could. So hours upon hours of footage was recorded, and that's very cool to see, I'm not gonna lie. Now, where is this thing? How can we get our hands on it? How is it Lost Media? Let's get into those details, shall we? Well, for starters, how is it Lost Media? Well, Flash, that's the main reason. Flash took a giant shit in 2020, so we can't watch it anymore. It's kind of the same reason why the Nick Zombified bumpers don't work, if you guys remember that case of Lost Media.
What the hell is even that?
Now, I am no technician or very tech savvy when it comes to the Flash player, so I'm not necessarily sure if the main reason why it won't work is because of the Flash player, but I do know we are investigating the company that worked on Walt's Warning. There's also another short, other than Walt's Warning, called Walt's Wisdom. Now, I don't know much about this one, though I do know after investigating Walt's Warning, I'm sure it's an even deeper rabbit hole. The reason why I'm talking about this in Lost Media Limbo is because the Lost Media Wiki is hosting it on the hunt for this case in particular. So if you'd like to investigate yourself, take a look at what's going on, and maybe see some updates on it if you are interested, then I'll have a link in the description for the Lost Media Wiki Discord, and you can join the On the Hunt. But let's go ahead and list off a few rules here if you're going to join. 1. Do not contact anybody if you do find something. Leave that to the contact team. 2. Do not ask people, are there any updates? People in the On the Hunt hate that shit, so what you should do is check the pins, right up there. The pins are very important as they keep a lot of the most current updates and information to people's attention. Now, with that said, do not go in there spamming it. That's just something that doesn't fly here in the Discord, so if you want to be a part of the server and you want to contribute to Walt's Warning or Walt's Wisdom, whether we find him or not, please keep all of that in mind. With that said, I've been rambling most of this portion of the video. I don't really know much about Walt's Warning. I just want to talk about it because I love Breaking Bad. I love this case in particular, and it's just so fascinating. With that said, though, until then, Walt's Warning, and technically Walt's Wisdom, will remain Lost Media. This case is very important to me. I've always wanted to talk about this case ever since Lost Media Limbo Volume 1, but seeing as how people have talked about this on YouTube more than my feet have touched the floor, I figured I'll cut this short. Shrek. You know him, you love him, he's frankly more popular than practically every character on this video. Yes, including Heisenberg. Sorry, man. The Green Ogre just outbeat you. So the topic of tonight is obviously the Shrek I Feel Good test animation, which was developed over at DreamWorks in 1997. Before Mike Myers took on the role of Shrek, the sarcastic yet lovable ogre, originally it was Chris Farley, a late SNL actor who was prominent for his comedy. Chris Farley was going to voice Shrek, and instead of him being a more sarcastic and narcissistic individual, Shrek was more of a lighthearted and sweet character, a jolly giant of sorts. The test animation was developed using mocap animation, as well as real-time backgrounds, meaning that the backgrounds were fully sculpted and modeled in real life, which of course is very ambitious. I mean, DreamWorks wanted to outbeat Toy Story, so they wanted to do something a little bit more high-tech, and I guess mocap was the hot stuff back then. I don't know if Chris Farley actually voiced the audio in the I Feel Good animation test, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did. The main reason why I bring up Chris Farley was because Chris Farley was a prominent figure in Shrek's development at this point in time, so even if he wasn't voicing the character in the I Feel Good test animation, it's still worth noting him, as he was very prominent in Shrek's creation. Not much is known about the I Feel Good test. All we've had for the longest time is a few screenshots of it, and that's really about it. I know we have a few clay models of what Shrek looked like in the test, as well as some other screenshots and screen caps here and there that have been floating around the internet, but that's really about it as far as what we know about it, and even if it still exists. For all we know, this thing is completely destroyed. Some have speculated that collectors have reels of the I Feel Good test animation, but I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. But recently, a huge lead has been brought up in the search. The only problem with that is I really don't want children to be bothering this individual that we have a huge lead on, so I'm going to do my best to give you guys as minimal details as I can but also informing you on what's going on behind the scenes. So apparently an animator who worked on the Shrek I Feel Good test may or may not have it. We know this because we found some footage of the I Feel Good test. It's not the best quality, but it's footage nonetheless on this individual's Vimeo page. I suppose this was their portfolio of sorts and they were showing off what they were working on and what they've worked on in the past. That, of course, including the I Feel Good test animation. We're doing our best to reach out to this individual, and when I mean by we, I mean the contact team dedicated to looking for this thing, not just random schmucks who bother people all the time. I just want to say this right now. Don't reach out to this person. Don't message them if you find out who this is. Don't message them. Don't talk to them. Leave them alone. Because the chances of you bothering them and filling their emails full of shit is the less likely we're ever going to get this thing found, and they'll probably just ignore us and keep this for themselves. So it's very important that you let the professionals take care of this. I'm mainly saying that towards you, kiddies, so please don't do that. Also, I don't want to get in trouble. So, that too. That's pretty much all I want to say about the Shrek I Feel Good test animation. I just got really excited because we, for the first time, could actually see this in our possession. This is like one of my top 5 most wanted pieces of media of all time. I love Shrek, and I love this weird, strange, awkward phase that the ogre had in his early years. If we can get footage of the I Feel Good test animation, that would make my day awesome. But the only way that's going to happen is if this person actually does reach out to us, and if he still has a copy of the video in his possession. Until then, though, the Shrek I Feel Good test animation will stay a mystery. Rayman. Now, I think it is a tradition now that I talk about Rayman in literally every Limbo video now. This is the 3rd time in a row that I've discussed the limbless hero, but, I mean, I can't help it. His cases of Lost Media are fascinating as hell. So let's make this the last Rayman case of tonight, shall we? Of Limbo, period, until there's an update on this, like Rayman's training. Rayman 4. Now, this is a game that I've wanted to happen, Rayman fans want to happen, and 3D platforming fans in general. If you've played Rayman 2, The Great Escape, or Rayman 3, Hoodlum Havoc, you'll know why this is the case. Rayman 2 is considered the greatest 3D platformer of all time, but in Rayman 3, Murphy says the iconic line,
"See you in Rayman 4!
But it never happens. And we've waited 20 years for this game, and it hasn't happened. Well, as a matter of fact, it was. Thanks to Liam Robertson of Unseen64, we got our very first glimpse into what could have been the synonymous Rayman 4. Ironically, though, it wasn't going to be developed by Ubisoft Montpellier, the head of the Rayman development, or where Michel Ancel worked, the creator of Rayman. Up until this point, all Rayman games were developed at Ubisoft Montpellier. But Rayman 4 wasn't going to be developed there. It was going to be developed by another company by the name of Phoenix Interactive Entertainment. Phoenix is most prominently known for such classics as Porky Pig's Haunted Adventure.
It's a masterpiece.
They don't have a lot of titles under their belt, but Rayman 4 was going to be their first big break. The first game that they genuinely were passionate to make. Unfortunately, though, it met a pretty sad demise. Rayman 4 was a very ambitious idea, as the plot was going to be revolving around Rayman in a sort of video game hero boot camp, as he has to take down Dark Rayman, a glitch in the system that adapts Rayman's persona. The game, much like Rayman 3, would have been a 3D platforming adventure that utilized power-ups. Concept art shows all sorts of different abilities and unique ideas that Rayman would take on, such as Bubblegum Rayman, Porcupine Rayman, Bigfoot Rayman, Flashlight Rayman. Interesting stuff. But what about the actual gameplay? Well, apparently, Phoenix Interactive wanted to make a game that anyone could play, and would be a lot like Rayman 1 or 2, taking Rayman back to his roots. It was going to be kind of Sonic Mania-esque, where it bring back old levels from the first 2 adventures, such as Bandland and Picture City, and even the Glade of Dreams from Rayman 2. Concept art also shows many other different ideas in different worlds that Rayman would have explored in this adventure. Nothing is known of the game except for a few screenshots of some builds of the game in early development, until February 14th of 2022, when we got our first video, I guess, test animation. What is with my channel and test animations? I don't get it. But there was a test animation that was made to kind of show off the utilization of Rayman 4 and how the gameplay would really work necessarily. And again, this is very interesting. I wish there was an early prototype build that we could find and play for ourselves, because I need myself another 3D Rayman fix. Rayman 2 is pretty good, I guess. Rayman 3 is peak gaming in my honest opinion. That game's freaking awesome. We need Rayman 4, people. You're probably wondering how this game got scrapped. Well, if you must know, the game was going to be developed for the Nintendo GameCube, PC, PS2, and Xbox. Unfortunately though, around the same time Rayman 4 was in development by Phoenix Interactive, Nintendo unveiled the Nintendo Revolution that would eventually become the Nintendo Wii. Ubisoft feared that their current GameCube projects wouldn't sell well because the Wii U Revolution was already on its way. So they just completely swept the rug under Phoenix Interactive and pulled the plug on the project entirely, giving the Rayman 4 title back to Ubisoft Montpellier, in which they would work on another 3D platformer called Rayman Raving Rabbids, which, as you know, became this steaming crock of goat shit. The story of Rayman 4 is long, tedious, elaborate, and honestly I couldn't really wrap my head entirely around it. There's just so much interesting lore behind it, and frankly, if you want to learn more about it, I'm going to leave Liam Robertson's video from Unseen64 up at the top below. You can click right there if you want to watch it for yourself. It's a very interesting story, and it had so many ambitious ideas. Not only were power-ups going to be utilized in this game, but vehicles too. Imagine what it would have been like piloting a Rayman mecha suit. Unfortunately though, things must come to a halt, and unfortunately in 2009, after this unfortunate situation, Phoenix Interactive had to close their doors since Ubisoft was their only source of funding, which really sucks. It really looked like they were passionate about making this game, and it's a shame that this project died in such vain. If only Rayman 4 could have finally happened. Don't get me wrong, I love Origins and I really love Legends. Those are both fantastic and probably some of the best 2D platforming experiences that you can get nowadays, but I feel like Rayman really needs to come back to the 3D genre and really give us a 3D platforming adventure that we've finally been waiting for years. At least we have some sweet concept art, some screenshots of the test demo, and at least we have this cool little animation that shows us what could have been. Unfortunately though, until a demo of sorts would ever surface online, Rayman 4 until now will remain a mystery.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time I dive back into the realm of lost media once again. I got a lot of strange stuff to discuss. A lost film, video game, book, a lot of stuff to discuss tonight, so let's not waste any more time. I'm your host, Mr.Bones, and this is Lost Media Limbo, Volume 6. You like my new look? I used to be a huge fan of Captain Underpants. It's a series that defined my childhood and sense of humor in ways I can't begin to explain. Dave Pilkey has written some of the most creative and entertaining children's books that have shaped my generation as a whole. With that being said, there actually is quite a lot of Captain Underpants lost media that not a lot of folks are aware of. The more well-known cases are back before the 2016 film was released. There were plans to develop a Captain Underpants movie since the original novel all the way back in 1997. According to the LA Times, quote, Hollywood had been courting the 51-year-old Pilkey ever since Captain Underpants had made his literary debut in 1997. As the series continued, eventually it was going to sell on more than 70 million copies worldwide, and that interest only intensified. A TV series, video games, animated series, and live-action movies, Pilkey was pitched in every conceivable way to cash in on his creation. But for years, he resisted. I had this agent who basically just said no to everything, he says. I was so focused on the books, I had these characters in this storyline that I loved, and I really wanted to make sure I told all the stories I could before I was ready to just let it go. The live-action film honestly interests me the most. You know, out of all of the live-action adaptations you could do with Captain Underpants, making something live action just kind of throws me off, man. The concept alone feels like it's something that can really only work within the realm of cartoons. I mean, just look at this. Although, however, it had been rumored that Chris Farley would have been played the role of Captain Underpants or Mr. Crop, and that does kind of sell me on the idea. Unfortunately though, and as we all know, Farley sadly passed away in 1997, so the plans for the film were scrapped, and Dave sat on the rights until the time was right. And I'm glad he did though, because I feel like DreamWorks was the perfect studio to make the film. Movie stuff aside, there's something even more interesting than seeing Farley in his undies. Let's hop in our time-traveling porta potties all the way back to the late 1980s, back to the Ohio Kent State University. This is where Dave first attended college, and this is also where he started publishing his very own books, and that he self-printed himself. One of these comics was the original concept that he created for Captain Underpants, titled The Really Cool Adventures of Captain Underpants. David actually sold these for about 10 cents a pop, and half the profits were given to Goodwill. Pilkey being based as always, I see. All of this information comes from a Redditor by the name of The Abiding Times, claiming to be one of the very few folks that actually bought a copy of a Pilkey back when he was still in college. They had no idea how rare this was. Let's take a look at this Reddit post from The Abiding Times. It was posted on r/Captain Underpants. Of course it was, and it states the following, quote, I own the very first version of Captain Underpants that Dave ever produced while at Kent State. He zeroed it and hand-stapled the thing, and then sold it at a few local stores to raise money for charity. Does anyone have any idea what something like this is worth? And here it is, ladies and gentlemen, in all of its glory, I guess. This really does look like something that Dave just made by himself, handmade. He drew everything out, and then he scanned everything. I guess he laminated it, and then he stapled it, and then he sold it for 10 cents. That's pretty incredible. I can't believe one of the holy grails of children's literature, Lost Media, was literally being sold at the time for like 10 cents. That is incredible. The Really Cool Adventures of Captain Underpants is something that I really wish gets found, because I want to see what it is. You know, my biggest question in this whole mystery isn't if, even if there's still any copies around. I'm sure there is, but it's mainly just, what is this? Is this like the original 1997 novel about this mean old principal that gets hypnotized by two fourth graders named George and Harold and turn him into their comic book superhero? Or is this just Captain Underpants, the superhero? And you're probably thinking, well, does the Abiding Times maybe scan this somewhere? I looked on WorthPoint and it's confirmed he sold it. I'm very disappointed that he did. I can't find the price or how much he did sell it for, but he probably made a lot of money that day. And unfortunately, until we can find someone who has a copy of this thing, it's going to remain a mystery. And before you guys ask, why don't you just message Dave Pilkey? Maybe he knows where it is. Well, that's just the thing, goofy goobers. You see, you can't contact Dave Pilkey because his contact is pretty much nowhere online. And that is not an open invitation to try to reach out and contact him and ask him about this thing. Now, I won't lie, there is a very good chance that Dave has this, but at the same time, I feel like if a bunch of people asked him to release it, I don't really think he will. Maybe he'll add this as like a bonus feature to a later Captain Underpants re-release, who knows. But until then, and until we can get more information about this comic, or if we can find someone that potentially has a copy floating around somewhere in their house, the Really Cool Adventures of Captain Underpants will remain a mystery.
Hey, paisanos, it's the Super Mario Brothers Super Show!
I think we can all agree that that new Mario film that just came out this year was a certified banger. I mean, it sure as hell was better than that rank-ass Super Mario Bros. Film from the 90s. You know which one I'm talking about, okay?
Monkey!
I bet you wish I didn't. But what if I told you that we may have not even gotten that steaming pile of goat shit in the first place? In fact, we could have gotten a fully animated Mario film. According to the LA Times, Deke Entertainment was originally planning to make a Mario film 3 years before the Light Studios film was released. Quote, Nintendo, the maker of popular video games, is about to gobble up another audience in movie houses. Deke Enterprises will produce a full-length animated feature film based on the characters of Nintendo's Super Mario Bros. Game. Comedy-based drama is planned for a summer 1990 release. Deke is also producing a Super Mario Bros. Super Show animated series for first-run TV syndication, in addition to the already announced Saturday morning series for NBC. It honestly blows my mind that this was even considered. Why didn't Nintendo go with an animated film instead of live action? It could have been way cheaper to make, and overall would have aged a million times better. Look, I know the Super Show doesn't have the biggest budget, okay, but if the studio was given the proper funds, I'm sure we would have gotten something truly magical. Instead, all we got was this.
Diddy Kong!
Moving on from... Another canned Mario flick that never happened was one that was actually going to be developed at Sony. Believe it or not, we know this due to the infamous Sony hack of 2014. That whole can of worms is another story, but pretty much, Sony's emails were leaked to the general public, and one of those emails from one of the Sony higher-ups was over them sealing the deal about getting a Mario film made. Quote, following the November 2014 hack of Sony Pictures, emails between Avi Arad, studio chief Amy Pascal, TriStar Pictures head Tom Rothman, and Sony Pictures animation president of production Michelle Ramo were released, revealing that Sony had been attempting to secure the rights to the Mario franchise for several years. Arad visited Nintendo in Tokyo in February and July of 2014 in an attempt to secure a deal. In October, Arad emailed Pascal. Pascal suggested recruiting Sony Pictures Animation Hotel Transylvania director Gendy Tarkovsky to help develop the project, while she said she could think of 3 to 4 movies right out the gate and hoped to build a Mario empire. However, after the emails leaked, Arad denied that the deal had been made, stating that negotiations had, quote, only begun. BuzzFeed News also noted that the emails did not take into account of potential conflicts with Sony Pictures' corporate sibling, Sony Interactive Entertainment, one of Nintendo's chief competitors. Okay, so I find this project even more nuttier than the Dick one. I mean, imagine Gendy making this. I mean, I'm not even entirely sure if he is a fan of Mario, but I know regardless, he would have made something totally whack. And I'm sure Nintendo probably wouldn't have been okay with him making something as far out as Hotel T, but just imagine what we could have had. Damn, we had been robbed! And that's pretty much all of the scrapped Mario films I could dig up online. You know, you think with Mario being the franchise it is, there would have been like tons upon tons of documented pitches to Nintendo trying to get this shit made into a movie or TV shows, you know. But I'm sure anything we don't already know publicly has already happened behind closed doors. I guarantee Nintendo is really good at keeping things under wraps. And honestly, I'm glad that we got the film we got, and looking at the concept art, it makes me a little miffed. Apparently we would have gotten a full-on Luigi's Mansion scene. Damn it, Nintendo! Give me Charlie Day Mansion! And James Woods is King Boo, maybe. Christopher Lloyd as EGAT, I feel like that one's a no-brainer. James Woods is King Boo, I mean, and until we can find more information about those 2 other scrap Mario films or projects or whatever, and who knows, maybe we can find more information on other canceled Mario flicks, but until we do, the DiC Entertainment Mario film and the Sony Pictures film will both remain mysteries.
Or is it the bagel?
Okay, I can almost promise you guys haven't heard of this one before. Allow me to introduce you to the point-and-click adventure that never was, Corey's Adventure. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, what the is this? Well, no one really knows. I found out about this little title after I was doing some research on adventure games for a game project of my own. I just randomly thought to myself, hey, what if there's some like lost adventure games? Perhaps I could talk about them on the channel. Granted, I know I did that for Sam & Max, but let's be real, Sam & Max is not a game, it's a masterpiece, okay? Anyways, back to this lost gem. Curly's Adventure was to be a point-and-click adventure game on PC developed by Salem Entertainment, and it was set to be published by Epic Games. Yeah, that Epic Games. Taking note of the Lost Media Wiki article, the plot goes as follows. Quote, the plot would have involved Curly, a short, bearded, bespectacled, snarky man who is trapped inside a huge mental asylum with many delusional patients who are allowed to live their fantasies in an environment that reconstitutes them in real life. However, it is being led by a mad scientist who operates under a sinister, megalomaniac, monocle-wearing villain who has plans for his own purpose. It was originally designed for MS-DOS by Salem Entertainment, but unfortunately development was shifted to Windows 95, and there it was sadly axed altogether, as Epic Games began to lose faith in the project entirely and just pulled the plug on it altogether. All that's left of the game are some screenshots and a short demo archived off the game's original website. And after scrubbing through the demo myself, which you can't do yourself, you can play this, link in the description if you actually want to play this yourself, and while I do think the plot has a lot of charm, and while the demo is a very early representation of what the game could have potentially been, I can see why Epic wasn't too jazzed with it. Curly's character and design it isn't the most appealing thing for a protagonist. He looks like every male Redditor put together. He honestly looks like a prototype Alex from that Yick game, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. I'm getting super off topic here, but the point I'm trying to make is despite the game going through development hell for 4 years, it just unfortunately wasn't working out and thus was scrapped. But that's just it. I was reading through this article and it had the cogs turning in my dusty head. You know, it got me thinking, if this game was in development for over 4 years, surely, Curly, there's more information about this game, right? There's more to this game than that was shown in the demo, right? I mean, like, you never visit the saloon, or the pirate ship, or any other shit shown in the screenshots. There has to be more to this game out there. Thus, my quest began. Yeah, so I was gonna have like a full-on animated segment here where I was like sifting through, you know, information and research about this game, kind of like a montage, but ran out of time. Gotta get this video out, so maybe next time. But yeah, that's about it. Okay, so to kind of throw a monkey wrench in that little gag, I didn't really find much, if I'm being honest. If there's one thing you gotta know about me, I suck ass at finding information regarding the Lost Media. I'm just not a good investigator. I'm just a goofy YouTuber. I like doing research, and I like talking about shit on the internet. So my attempts of getting this thing uncovered was kind of shit, but at the same time, I got a lot of questions answered, so let's go ahead and get into all of that. So to start things off, my first thing was I knew that there were a couple of names involved with the project already that I could research and potentially contact them, so I did just that. One of which was one of the designers of the game. I'm not going to say his name or any of the names featured in this video, so this guy uploaded a trailer to Curly's Adventure on his dead YouTube channel, and I figured, well, it's a dead YouTube channel, he probably won't respond to me, but what the hell, I'll give it a shot. I went on the trailer, which I'll go ahead and show you now. Anyway, so I watched this trailer and I was like, okay, so clearly in the description, it says that he's very passionate about the project, they put a lot of effort into it, but unfortunately it just never happened. So maybe I could potentially get in contact with this individual and interview them. So I put a comment down below. I didn't even really think he was going to read it, but I was just like, hey, I've been looking into this. I'm a huge point-and-click adventure game fan. I want to know if you'd be interested in being interviewed so I can learn more about this game. And that's pretty much it. I go to bed the next morning and I wake up to check the comment and it's gone. It's nowhere. And I was confused. I thought, well, maybe I didn't send it, but I know I did because I edited the comment. I edited it because I messed up some punctuation, so that deleted it. So my question was, why did he? You got a prejudice against skeletons, man? You got a prejudice against cartoon purple skeletons? So I let Seeker of the Lost know about this because he was also kind of in the loop with this game as well. I was talking to him about it, and he was also really confused. So he also sent a comment down below, and the comment is still there. He didn't delete Seeker's comment, which pretty much asked the same thing that my comment had. What the f? But you know what? It didn't matter. There's a ton of other people I can ask to be interviewed. It's not that big of a deal. So I kept digging. And I ended up finding an artist, thanks to GabLab. I didn't find him, Gab did. Gab found someone that was an artist on Curly's Adventure, and he sent their information to me, and I sent them a message. But as of the recording of this video, I have not heard back from this guy, so chances are either he read my message, didn't give a shit, or just didn't even see it, so who knows. I was beginning to lose hope because the more I looked into this, the more I just came to the realization of, I don't think I'm gonna get anything found. But luckily, by some stroke of just luck, I can only chalk it up to a stroke of luck, I ended up finding the creator of Curly himself on Twitter, just briefly mentioning it to some random guy a couple of days before I even started my investigation in the first place, and it blew my mind. I was like, how did I find this guy? Again, not gonna say his name because I don't want anyone to reach him, but I went ahead, I found out that his DMs were open on Twitter. I'm like, I'm gonna send this guy a message and see if he gets back to me. Believe it or not, he did, and I stated the following. Hello, mister.
Name and address withheld.
My name is Marcus. I'm a huge adventure game fan, and I've recently taken interest in Curly's Adventure, a point-and-click adventure game that sadly never saw the light of day, and I've been searching for a few developers who worked on the project that would be interested in answering a few questions regarding it. Would you mind if I asked you a few? Any help is appreciated. Thanks. Marcus.
Sure, I left about a year, but I'll help in any way I can.
Awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about the game? What was your position in it?
I started the team and came up with the overall concept, was the original art director, producer, etc. The goal was to make a LucasArts type game, Day of the Tentacle or Maniac Mansion of sorts.
Oh, so you're the creator of Curly. That's really cool.
I came up with the concept. Dave knew a kid that went to school named Mike Curly. He thought he would make a great game character, so he based him off of Dave's friend. It was my idea to put him in an asylum and make it a point-and-click adventure.
How come the project never happened? This sounds incredible.
Long story. Many threads, but the main group of devs continued to keep it alive as long as they could.
Oh, I understand. Point-and-clicks really are a lost art nowadays. Such a shame that this can never see the light of day. Think you'll ever return to the idea?
It never occurred to me, to be honest, and not really mine to even try, really. Maybe some fans of those games could pick it up and revive.
And that's pretty much where the conversation ended. He just stopped responding to me. I know it doesn't really answer a lot of questions other than he is the creator of it and he was the lead art direction / producer. But yeah, that kind of still leaves a bunch of answers unquestioned. For one, where did those screenshots originate from? Clearly there is some build of this game that has those. Who knows where this thing is? It is a complete mystery, and that is why I am so infatuated with this case of Lost Media. There is so much just strange mystery behind it. And also, there was something that happened behind the scenes and caused the game to be delayed for so long. I just don't know what that is, and that's another question that's been left unanswered, as well as who the hell uploaded that demo on Internet Archive? Was it one of the developers? If so, do they have more from it? But until we can get more information on Curly's Adventure and potentially, who knows, get most of the game uncovered, it will remain a mystery. I'm sure Doug TenNapel needs no introduction on this channel. I've discussed his work numerous times, such as Earthworm Jim. However, there is actually another piece of lost media that Doug has his name attached to, specifically the 1997-2000 feature film, Mothman. Doug wanted to make a comedy horror featuring the iconic cryptid. Let me read the plot synopsis off the Lost Media Wiki, and it goes as follows. Quote, "The film follows Ellis Gladstone, Ed Schofield, an aspiring animator living in the small town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. With his work continually rejected by Disney, Gladstone spends most of his time looking for an abandoned apartment complex that his father inherited. In the midst of this dejection, he suddenly encounters a tall birdman simply known as the Mothman, a creature that has not been seen by the town for over 30 years. No one believes Gladstone's sightings, and he becomes an outcast instantly. With the help of Old Man Hudson, John Frederick Jones, who claims to have seen the Mothman back in the day, Gladstone has to prove that the creature really exists. Things take a turn for the worse, however, when he gets stalked by Agent Fulmer, Doug Langdale, a man in black on the hunt for the Mothman, but for a much darker purpose. To the shock of absolutely no one, this plot sounds pretty baller. The race to see who can catch the Mothman first is such a fun idea for a movie, and it's a damn shame it never happened. One thing that I'd like to mention, though, is the cast itself. Ellis Gladstone was to be played by Ed Schofield, who was an animator on Earthworm Jim and The Neverhood, believe it or not, both creations of TenNapel. Agent Fulmer was to also be played by Doug Langdale, an old friend of Doug's who helped produce Cat Scratch and Earthworm Jim, the animated series. It's interesting to see that the majority of the cast was simply just old friends of Doug, doing a few favors for him and working together on one big project. Another big thing I'd like to mention is that other than the plot featured on the Lost Media Wiki, there's also an old trailer of an early cut of the film from 1999 on YouTube. Take a look for yourself. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. This is just an unscripted moment. I think I made a bit of a mistake researching this. Let me explain. So, Doug follows me on Twitter, which means that his DMs were open for me to reach out to him. I figured since I had a means of reaching out, I should just ask him directly about this, you know? I knew about this in the past, but it wasn't until I watched Blame It on Jorge's video on Lost Films that it just kind of sparked the memory back, so I figured, oh, why don't I just contact Doug directly and see if he could release this online? So I did. Hey Doug, I've been trying to do some research on your scrapped Mothman film for a video, and I wanted to ask you a few questions regarding it, if that's okay. That's all I put, and I was hoping to hear back from him, but as you can already see, he's already seen it, which tells me he doesn't really want to talk about it. And this does make the search a million times more complicated, but get this, to only make the situation even worse, when I went to watch the Mothman trailer on YouTube, I saw this first comment listed. Quote,
"I know, man, it's a very curious subject. I'm a longtime fan of Doug, and I love when he does stuff about cryptozoology, but the general public knows virtually nothing about this move. On Doug's website it says, if you see Doug in person, never ask about this film, he is in therapy over it. Whether that's a joke or not is beyond me, but it certainly raises eyebrows."
Shit. Well, now I feel like an asshole just for asking. Just wonderful. I don't know if we'll ever see this film, guys. As much as I want to say Doug has more information on it, I highly doubt he's going to say anything regarding it anytime soon, so until that does happen, and until we can get more information and potentially new footage from this film, Doug TenNapel's Mothman will remain a mystery. Stupid Mothman, you made me look like an asshole.